Faith and love starts with faith in you. Know yourself to grow yourself. And discover the DNA of love with Dr. Williams every Wednesday at 4 p.m.
Give love.
So today is the DNA of the romantic spark, which with Valentine's Day being so close is really important to know what the spark is in a relationship, then what ignites it, and then for some couples what reignites it, because it can go out if you let it, and then how to maintain it over time.
Now, let's start diving into this. How do you define romantic spark?
So it starts off with chemistry. What do you think chemistry might be? Or how does chemistry feel when you're with somebody?
I feel like for me, chemistry is just one of those things that is like this, with this person, they release this kind of feeling in me that just makes me content.
Butterflies.
Not necessarily happy, but like, yes, happy is a feeling that goes along with it, but just like contentment.
Comfort. Comfort. And it's described across even cultures really like that. Like this idea of feeling like on a cloud when I'm with someone, like a general joy or excitement when I see them, when I'm around them, when I exist in their presence. And true, accurate. How it's been defined clinically has been in a few very specific ways that encapsulate that feeling. And primarily we look at a few categories. Mutual interest being one, a huge one. Like, essentially, do we like the same things? Are we into the same things? Reciprocal communication and fondness. Like, do we speak in a way that has a rhythm? Like, and then some people call it like true, like dating chemistry. Like, I'm talking to you. Do I feel like it's easy to throw the ball back and forth, like conversationally? Mutual fondness comes from, yes, physical attraction. Like, it's incredibly important to be physically attracted to someone. And it doesn't make a person shallow, by the way. I know I've heard that a lot. Like, am I shallow for thinking someone's attractive or not wanting to be with someone because I don't find them to be physically attractive?
And I will say on that note alone, I can't tell you how many people that like what they thought attractive had changed by the time they met their partner. So like, for instance, my sister, she ended up always kind of having the type for the tall, skinny guys. And her husband is like 2 inches taller than her. She's 5'4", and he's like Costa Rican and like not at all like what you would have imagined her with.
Is he short and squat?
Yep.
And sometimes I think that's an important point, is that we change, we mature over time, and the things we find interesting or good are different as we get older. Like, if you asked me at 10 years old what my favorite food was, it was cake. If you asked me at 20 years old what my favorite food might have been, it was cake. If you asked me at 32, once I started hitting that metabolism curve and like I'm getting older and basketball for 20 years is starting to creep up on me, it's actually like apples and fruits and vegetables. So people change over time, and that's why the foundation, that initial chemistry, that initial spark is so important, because if things evolve over time, it's way different than changing completely. And if you have a foundation in chemistry that was effectively built early on, then the things that change over time don't necessarily shift from the person you knew. They just enhance the person you're with. It's valuable that way. So one big component too is true degrees of similarities between you and the person that you're talking with. Like, when we're speaking about that spark, and you see it in the quote unquote happy couple, they tend to laugh at the same things. They find the same things more comical. They have similar demeanors, and I don't mean like that one is serious, they're both serious. If one's kind of silly and jovial, they're both silly and jovial. More, it's a demeanor in that they both find the same kind of values to be important. The things that they like, honesty and integrity. Like, I have a friend who actually has a girlfriend, or I guess they're married now. They're actually going to have a baby pretty soon. But he probably hate for me to say this, but his wife is a very Real Housewives kind of wife. Like, she loves the shows. She watches them religiously, but she's very into designer clothes. She's very into designer, like, hairstyles. Like, she's very, very image conscious, and he is just not. Absolutely not. She put in perspective, she bought maybe $3,000 worth of purses on their trip to France like a few years ago.
Wow.
And then she took a picture of them all laid out and neatly spread onto her like really, really nice hotel bed in like a Sheraton. And like posted not only like the picture of the purses, but how much they all cost. Like, this is the kind of person we're talking about. And I'm not saying anything bad about her, because these are things I've said to her and him, like when we've been out to dinner and stuff. But he's not that way at all. He's half Korean, half Dutch, and play basketball, wears the same 6 or 7 t-shirts every day, wears the same basketball shorts with the really ratty sneakers that I met him in, pretty much. But the way they mix is their chemistry.
And it's also, too, I just gotta say, closet-wise, perfect. If he only has 7 shirts, she gets the rest of the closet.
You're not even in the wrong. Like, their closets really are, it's a designer walk-in wardrobe of her, and then he has like the little like plastic stack racks like in the corner of just old basketball stuff and a really awful tuxedo that he uses in weddings and or funerals. I don't know. So it's a matter of chemistry for them, because they're so, like, on the surface different, but their chemistry is that they genuinely like the same things from a comedy standpoint. They genuinely find the same movies to be interesting. They genuinely find the same experiences to be diversely interesting, and that's what holds them together, and that's why they are expecting their first child, in October. Like, they really, really worked hard to build that foundation. And I'm proud of him, and I'm proud of their relationship. And I look at my relationship as similar. Like, I love my wife, and I think we hit it off in these areas. Responsiveness is a big one, though. Like, the idea of, have you ever been talking to somebody, like, romantically, or at least interested in them, and you feel like, this is way harder than it should be.
Yep.
Like, I'm either carrying the conversation, or I feel like I'm chasing after them interpersally. I feel like I'm chasing after their attention. It sucks, right?
Yeah.
It's a terrible position to be in. I view it as like that feeling I got in high school when I thought like a girl was really, really pretty, and like she looked at me for a second, and I felt pressure to do anything I possibly could to keep her attention. And I knew it was fleeting, and I knew eventually I was going to lose it. But part of me was like, it's worth the fight. I'm 16, and she's 16. This is the love of my life, probably. So let me keep giving the effort. But it obviously wasn't built in anything other than my infatuation or lust at the time.
Yeah.
Example-wise, though, I don't think I've ever told you this story, but when I was in college, when we're talking about the opposite of romantic chemistry, I don't drink, so I've always been an athlete that hung out with other basketball players that didn't drink, and we were in a bar layout place called the Power Plant. It was for anyone who's never been to Baltimore, it was a U-shaped like strip mall that had like basically a row of open bars from left to right in a big U-shaped parking lot. And to get into the parking lot, there was this velvet rope. So you stand on line all night to get past the velvet rope, and then you get into these like assorted bars. So obviously it's cold. I don't drink. I'm already not in a great mood. It took me an hour to get into the bars, and I'm here. Let me try to enjoy myself. So I'm standing at this bar, and I have my little ginger ale, some ice in it, keep it nice. And I'm sitting there, and this girl, she's like standing up on the bar and like singing and just doing too much. Like she was really over enjoying herself. And she gets down, and I'm talking to one of my teammates, and I'm holding my drink in my right hand and leaning on the bar with my left hand, and I'm not really paying attention to her. Again, I don't drink, so it's just my ginger ale. It's nothing crazy. And she comes over and she grabs my straw, and she like aggressively takes a sip out of my cup. Like a lot of my drink, like almost down to like the ice. And then she goes, ew, this isn't alcohol. And I go, ew, this isn't your drink. So right off the bat, our chemistry was shot. Like, we had zero chance. And I think that was, for me at the time, I didn't recognize it, but in hindsight, that was the ideal situation to describe that. Even though I'll be honest, like, she was gorgeous, but we had zero chemistry. Like, I'm not the guy who would stand up on a bar. She was. I don't drink from other people's cups. She does. Like, we just didn't see eye to eye in these areas, and it makes sense that we didn't work out, whether I was physically attracted to her or not.
Now, what are we talking about next with this romantic spark?
So how do we reignite the spark if we feel like it's gone out? So if you're a person in a relationship and you feel like things are getting kind of stale, which happens, you're together for 10 days or 10 years, like there can be ups and downs, ebbs and flows, or lulls in the relationship overall. So if you're one of these people and you're like, well, I still really love this person, like how do I get the fire going again? There's a few ways you can do it. So first, this is a big one. Utilize the element of surprise. There's so many relationships that get really stale because we get complacent and we find ourselves looking to just do the routine as the routine has always been done. And the human brain is pretty like lenient or conducive for that because the human brain likes sameness. Like the brain wants everything to be consistent and predictable because predictable is safe and safe feels secure. But passion is not always based in the predictable. Passion is sometimes a moment or two that you didn't expect, like a proposal. Like most proposals are done by surprise. If you propose to someone and told them exactly when and where it was going to happen, like it would take away a little something from them. You know what I mean? So that element of surprise, we have it in the beginning of our relationships when everything is new and it's easy and it's fun and it's exciting. But if the spark is gone, it might be because you have kind of lost that edge from a surprise standpoint. And you can do this in the way you give gifts. Like we talked about this last week a little bit. Random acts of kindness, random like acts of consideration, more so than kindness, like showing the person that you're with that you actually care about them in a way that's not predictable. In a way that's like, here's a very silly one. This is one thing my mom talked about when we were kids, is finding a way to warm the toilet seat. It's really, really simple. But if you are, if for all the guys listening, if you have a wife or someone who prefers to use the bathroom after you quickly, recognize like even a small consideration about what the bathroom status is when you're done with it, like will change the world for a person who doesn't have a background in you caring in that way. So my mom actually, when we were kids, she was like, she got mad at us because we were every now and then we use the bathroom, we leave the toilet seat up, and she said when the toilet seat up is up, for whatever reason she would say the toilet seat was colder up than it was down. I think it's because where the heater was placed in the bathroom, but either way it hit on a very strong argument for my mom, is like, I don't want a cold butt every time I go to the bathroom. So it just meant a lot to her if we knew to lower the toilet seat so it could be warm. When she sits on it, it's a momentary convenience that she noticed based in like extra effort that took me 2 seconds to actually like show that I cared. And that's that brings me to my second point, is like conveying emotions difficult than what is typical. I know it's really, really easy saying I love you. It's really easy. It's necessary. It's very important and valuable, but it's easy. Very difficult to show I love you over time in ways that are surprising. I think of this is a thing. I told my wife about this. She made a face at me when I told her this story yesterday. But my ex, this is why she made a face, because it's about my ex. But when we were living in California, me and my ex, so a long time ago, she worked not too far from the gym that I used to work at. Or work out at. And I went to this gym, and one day I pulled off. It was a short right turn on the way to the gym. I pulled off, and I saw a man outside who was selling roses. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, he's selling roses for like $15. Like, nice. So I pull over, I buy a single rose for $15. And I go to her job. I knew she was in a meeting. I knew she wasn't available. So I go to her job, and the people, the staff, they already knew me. I was like, hey, I told them, I was just honest. I was like, I have a single rose. I want to put it on her desk. And when she comes back from her meeting, she'll be like, oh, he thought about me. So I went to her desk and I took a random cup. I don't know where it was just on her desk. It was a cup that just happened to exist. And I put it on her desk and I stuck the rose in it, put a little bit of water, and then I left. And then no note, no nothing. I just left. And I went to go play basketball. And afterwards, like she lost her mind. And she was like, oh, it was so sweet. It was so nice. It was he was thinking of me. He did so much. Oh my gosh, my boyfriend is the best boyfriend ever. And all I could think about is like, I'm really not that great. Like, it was on the way. I stopped up to a guy impulsively selling roses. And then I just did something simple that really took very little effort. And it gave such a strong reaction in her mind because the symbolism was that I thought about her for more than 2 seconds when she wasn't around.
Yeah.
And it cost me only $15.
Yeah. Well, I even too think like, one of the things that I've always, that makes me feel really loved is that like good morning text. Hey, I woke up. I just want to say good morning. I hope you have a good day. Like that just makes me feel, good.
What does it tell you? Like when a person texts you that early in the morning?
They're like, I was their first thought, or at least one of their first thoughts when they woke up for the morning.
Mm-hmm. And even let's say like you've been with a partner for 10 years and they've given you a good morning text every day. Doesn't mean it's not valuable, but then it becomes routine. What then spices that passion up or maybe reignites the spark is with the good morning text. You get a random text at like 2:15 or something I used to do in college. And I thought I was really cool by doing this. And it was, in hindsight, it's kind of like, I'm kind of cringing because I didn't plan to tell this, but like it kind of hit me in this moment. I used to like tell my friends that, all right, I like this person. She likes me, I think. So I'm going to try to throw her for a romantic loop. I'm going to call her randomly and just be like, hey, I was thinking of you. And then as she has a response, I'm going to hang up on her. I would do this for like a lot and probably more than I'm proud of. And it worked. Like when I was in college, I would legitimately, I hate admitting this because this is kind of a gross thing to admit, but like, it's true. I would like know a girl was kind of peripherally interested in me. And I would then like, wait, you know what? She gets out of class at 3. So I know she's going to be walking with her friends. I'm going to interrupt. And I even did this once on the quad of my school, watching the girl that I was calling from a distance when she wasn't aware that I was watching. Very, very creepy, overly planned, I know. I'm not proud of it. But she was with her friends. I called her and she goes, hello. She was like, and she had my number. She was like, well, why are you calling me? And I was like, hey, I don't know. I was just thinking about you. I was wanting to see how you were doing. And she was like, okay. And then I hung up. And then she called back and I sent her the voicemail. And then I went to go play basketball. Like I just completely moved on. And I got like a bunch of texts afterwards like, okay, like what was that about? And I was like, I don't know. I like you. I'm kind of weird. And then she actually like laughed. And I remember we only went on like maybe 2 or 3 dates because we just didn't vibe well once we went on dates. But I remember thinking like, this is so easy. Like it's such a surprising move. It's an awkwardly weird thing to do, but it made people laugh and it didn't ever really go south. Like obviously not everyone was into me. Like there was like an equal amount that would be like, oh, this guy's weird, but it's kind of funny, but I'm not going to go out with him. Yeah. And even those made me laugh because it was like, I'm just doing something that's like interesting. I don't recommend it. Not if you're married.
I did see this thing and it's kind of reminding me, it's like, I've seen it with different examples, but like fonts. Like if you say like send a sweet message and like a cursive font comes off really sweet, but all of a sudden if you start using kind of a creepier like, horror movie font, it's gonna come off really creepy.
Yeah, Comic Sans.
Yep.
Or add in ellipses.
Yep.
I love you ... and then never follow up.
Yep.
It's fun to do these kinds of things. And that's actually like one of our other points here is like, if you change the routine and you convey emotions differently, if possible, you can then work as a team to mutually establish this goal of trying to even like playfully one-up each other in demonstrating love and the spark over time in these unique and weird ways. Like, I know my wife does it in ways where she watches movie reviews for me, but she doesn't have to. Like, I love movies. Like, I'll watch a 4-hour Star Wars like movie review on just like the opening scene. Like, I'm like nerd like when it comes to my movie reviews, and she'll watch them with me just because she knows that I like them. And then she'll quote like stuff from the movie review that she doesn't have to, and like, or she'll do a British accent just because she knows that I like it, but she'll do it at weird times where it's like awkward and like only funny to me, and sometimes in public. And like, usually it's surprising, but it conveys more than a person trying to make me laugh. It's a person who cared enough to know what makes me laugh and is interested in trying, whether it works or not. Like, my wife, I love her, but sometimes we both bomb. Sometimes our jokes do not work. And that's okay. Like, the effort is what matters, and I know she cares enough to try, and I'm right there with her.
And I know we're going to be continuing talking about, this romantic spark. We talked about defining it, we talked about rekindling it, but now we're talking about maintaining the spark.
So maintaining the spark is as important as like stoking a fire. Like, if you let a fire exist for a long time, depending on the kindling around it, it may continue to burn for years, or feel like that at least. But if you don't do anything to it, it will absolutely go out at some point. So what do you think about the phrase being in love versus being in like?
I feel like being in like is just, hey, I can stand this person.
Sure.
We get along, we're fine, but it's not, being in love is like a special feeling.
True. Absolutely. But love for your car is incredibly valuable. But your car can easily end up stuck in the garage for weeks or months, depending on whether you feel comfortable taking it out on the town. Liking your car, like being in your car, like being around your car, liking having people see you in the car, liking people seeing that you can maintain a car as well as you maintain your relationship, metaphorically speaking. Now we're drifting into a category of being in like being a completely, totally different thing from love. Love, in essence, can be maintained by momentum or like history. Like, I love this person because I always have, but I don't want to be with them anymore. Like, I've heard that a lot in couples therapy, but I've never heard someone says, I really, really like this person, but I gotta go. People tend to need both equally for that fire to continue to be stoked over time. And being in like is hard. It really takes dedication, and it takes like challenging yourselves in ways to express that love in unique, multifaceted manners that aren't at times easy to come up with. But when you like someone, you do it. Like, when I like someone for a first date, I want to wear my best clothes. When I really, really like someone, I'm going to actually shower. When I really like someone, I'm going to introduce them to friends, families. Or family members. I'm going to take them on interesting dates because I want to impress them. I'm going to take them around coworkers because I want my coworkers to know that I really, really, not only like from a social standpoint, like, proud of this person that I'm with, but deeper than that, for a lot of folks, is the ego to show that like, yeah, like this is the kind of person that I'm eligible for. This is the kind of person that I'm able to obtain romantically or interpersonally from a metaphorical standpoint. So that in itself, it encapsulates the need for love, but the necessity also for like. Because if you don't have both, you just have habit, and habit isn't going to sustain your relationship. Definitely, it helps you do things that are novel, like brush your teeth in the morning. Hopefully folks are brushing their teeth in the morning. But it doesn't actually sustain the intimacy between two people. Yeah, it's valuable. Most of this is coming from not just speaking about it either. And I've heard so many couples over the years talk about how much, like, I really love my partner, or when I'm in love, I'm in love. And like, I really am a person who tells my partner how I feel about them, which is great. Cool. But what do you do to demonstrate it? And I don't mean working hard to prove love, but to truly, genuinely show love to a person who may already know that you love them, but it's nice to feel it. It's nice to know. Like, I know my dog, and I'm not comparing spouses to dogs, by the way. Some people listening might, depending on how mad they are at their significant other, but my golden doodle loves me. Like, I know she does. Because every single day, no matter how, like, hard my day has been, I come home and she's standing there shaking her butt, just ready to show me that, like, hey, you're that guy who feeds me. He's cool. And that is the simplistic relationship between me and my dog. But even that, I know she loves me. I've had cats in the past. And I was a question mark if they loved me, because I would come home and feed them and I never hear from them for weeks.
Yep.
'Cause I'm like, this cat forgot who pays the bills. It's me. So showing the love and demonstrating it effectively is the means of how you actually maintain this spark, but then being okay with trial and error, because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to swing and miss. And doing so is part of the process. My wife, she doesn't like bacon. Like she likes it sometimes. It's an occasional bacon eater, right? I bought her a sandwich once and it had bacon on it. And I've done this a few times actually, so she's probably listening right now thinking like, more than a few. Like, he messes up orders. But I got her something with bacon in it once and something with bananas in it. And she didn't eat either, because she says that bananas taint the taste of the entire item, and bacon turns everything into pork, essentially. I can't even taste the other meats on here because the bacon is so overpowering. One thing she hasn't done, though, is made me feel like a bad husband for trying. Like, she's honestly said, like, I'm not going to eat this. Like, this is disgusting. But she's never made me feel like a complete idiot for going out of my way to try to get her a sandwich. She's never made me feel like a complete jerk for going out of my way to try to feed the person that I care for. Even if she doesn't eat it, I know she appreciated it because she said so, but then she demonstrates it by doing the same thing for me. She bought eggnog for Christmas. I hate eggnog, but I know she bought it because she wanted us to be able to enjoy eggnog together. I didn't drink it. Still in the fridge right now, probably expired. But I know it's something she did because she cared about me. And it's very obvious. I didn't have to think really hard for that example because it was so salient and close to the surface. So it's a journey in itself, but you should be having fun in this journey because the person you're with should be a fun person. And if they're not, then what are you doing this for?
Yeah.
You can't laugh with someone. Like, who wants to just sit around and have serious talks?
No one.
I mean, I guess they work if you're a lawyer, but like not in the house. Like, conversations and communication between two people who claim to love each other should be incredibly robust when it comes to the fun factor. And there's no scientific means of quantifying like the fun factor, but I think everyone listening knows what I'm talking about. And if you don't have it in your relationship, then maybe there's a void that will never be filled, and you might be with the wrong person.
Yeah. Now we are coming up to the final thoughts portion. So anything you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
As we say every week, you have to define love to find love. So anything that you say you want in your relationship, if you haven't effectively operationally defined it for yourself, then you have no shot at being able to define it in the context of your relationship. So give yourself a fighting chance. Give your relationship a fighting chance and work to define these nuanced things that we have in our relationship to seek the depth that you're hoping to find in the people that you're romantically involved in. If you can do that, you give yourself a shot, and hopefully if and when we make it to our 80s and 90s, we can look back and say whether I found love or didn't, I did everything I possibly could to give myself a chance. If you have that chance, then that's a win to me.
Just can't show love. You just said I showed up. Boy, respect your elder. I'm a fucking grown up. Run them told me go nuts. Run them ain't for no number. No talking at dinner or to baking at donuts. Fucking